Can you hear me now? 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 Oh, hello, this is about the future. Thanks for being here. Could you hear that? I assume by the fact that you said yup, that you could hear me. I was just netting YouTube. Hello, and hello, netting YouTube. I didn't say hello, netting YouTube with scorn like I usually do at the beginning of the last live. And I just launched right into it and had all this great stuff to say about the future, because channeling the future is something that we should all do more of. And of course, net and YouTube stopped that from happening, so you can lip read it. Somebody did eventually come in and say, no sound. But just let me know if the sound cuts out. I'm going to tell you about the future. Okay, so in the future, there's no war. And the future where there's no war lasts a really long time, like forever. You could just say it's a really long time of the future where there's no war. There's no money, and there's no war in the future. I'm sorry if that's disappointing. But there's no money and there's no war in the future. And that future lasts a long time. So that all of humanity, very little of it is war and money. It's like the birth pains of the lifespan of humanity. The birth of humanity, war and money. But after that, there's the future of no war and no money. No, what's the Venus Project? Oh, I'm glad you're here. So after that, there's no war and there's no money. And you don't go back to war and money. You have all the future of humanity, millions of years, free of war and money. So when you look at us from like an outside of time perspective, like it's only these really miserable early stages, this caveman bullshit we're doing. Trump-Putin-ears? The Putineers? Trump-Putin-ears? Sorry. When you said the Putineers, I called them Trump-Putin-ears. Yeah, the things that we have to escape, the cavemen. that we have to escape. I'll accept money. Tracy from daycare, you can send me money. I'll take your money. If you want to do a magic thing, I'll take your money. Um, okay. You asked if you can see the future. Okay. Why don't you just tell me what you think? You know? Like, I think that you can sense, when you consider two different options, you can sense which one is true. Okay? So there's the future, as I just described it. And you heard what I said. But do you think it's true? Does it feel true that the future involves a long time of human continuance in peace without any money or war? And if that's too specific, just a long time of human continuance. Does that feel true to you? Or does it feel true that we're all going to die and there's no more humanity? Which one feels true to you? Don't worry about what anybody else is saying. BB, you asked a really long question and you said really quick at the beginning of your really long question. Did you need to know where to send the money to? You can send money to the Cash App $Puffin Doja. $Puffin Doja. PUFFINDOJA. But anyway, that's for while we have money. If you want to get rid of money, send it to me. But here's the thing though. In the future, we're not going to have any money, right? So in the future, we're not going to have any money and we're not going to have any war. And we're going to have a very long time of human existence without any money or war. So that when you think about the way all humans think throughout all time, they'll look back on this time as a pathetic, miserable existence. Okay, here goes BB. I mean, like I said, that's the Venus Project. It's a resource-based economy. It was started by a guy named Jacques Fresco. He's dead, but yeah, I could see that being the future in like 200 years. What about in 2 years? Can you see it being the future in 2 years? So you can see the future. You can see that potential future. Okay? You can see that potential future, right? Like, you can see how you feel like, as you would feel like, an isolated person, a person who shares an uncommon viewpoint, that there's a future of peace. I would love that, but no, not at all. Right. So, even though you and I, how many times have you talked about this today? How many times have you had the conversation about a long period of peace extending indefinitely into the future? How many times have you had that conversation this month, this year, or this decade, or this century? How many times have you had the conversation that we're having right now? Just woke up, so this is the very first time. Okay, that's what I mean by in a day. How many times do you have a conversation about this subject in a given day, or week, or year? The reason I'm asking day, week, year, century is to emphasize that you haven't had the conversation. You don't think about it, talk about it. You're even the type of person who can think about it, and you don't think about it or talk about it that much, right? This is why I encourage you not to listen to anything anybody else says. Okay, 10 times a year. That's pretty good. Inverted. Thank you for being here. Inverted banana, sorry. Inverted banana is how I would traditionally say your name. Inverted banana. See, what if in the future everybody says banana? And because I've been talking future talk, I just accidentally said banana. I remembered my future where I said banana, where everybody says banana, when I, of course, naturally, throughout my past and until now, say banana. Okay, way less than I used to, maybe a couple of times a month. That's a lot better than, I talk about stuff kind of like this, like all the time. but I don't go hardcore into the future at all. Like I realized earlier that I don't. I started my previous live and I was just going off about the future. I was, not spilling secrets as much as I was getting right into it, right? I was coming from the future. I was speaking from the future pretty effectively. And then somebody shows up and says, "No sound." I'm like, "Fuck you, YouTube." Anyway, that's the past already. A lot say banana. Banana. I know, that's what I'm saying. What if in the future everybody says banana and nobody says banana? And I sound really silly. But I've never said banana before. Like, I promise you. That's why it's probably just a trip of the tongue, but it's also could be fairies, it could be the future, it can be channeling a future self. So there's that silly question. That's one thing I did say in the previous live. I'm going to make a highlight of the banana um, conundrum because that'll be hilarious to people in the future. Uh, when people ask this ridiculous question, what would you tell your previous self? What would you tell your younger self? What would you go back and tell yourself if you went back in time? Well, what is your future self telling you now and all the time? What are your future selves constantly slapping the shit out of you with, and you just don't listen? You know, like I didn't block everyone. Clips. I don't never block anyone. You need to get you something that you could. I've got straight up terrorists constantly terrorizing my channel, and I don't block them because even though it's a danger to myself that they're such terrorists, and I don't block them. I don't know. I don't block people. Charlie Kirk. You need to get you something that you could check out your live stream like another device, a tablet phone, while it's happening. What? So that I could see what it looks like from your end? Why? I mean, I appreciate the advice, but why? Why did you say that? What made you think that? Okay, Tracy from daycare says, "My future self is telling me to stay away from that hooker. You can send her to me. My future self told me to be careful." Okay. Dude, this is awesome. Inverted banana says third person perspective. BBB, BBN. I don't know what to call you. BB? I mean, I might as well call you BB. Nobody else is using that name. Well, it tells me that although these things need to change and I could work towards it, I have to pick one, dedicate my life to enjoy my life in the way I'm doing it now. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen you before. I don't know who you're talking to that you think is following you. My future self probably herself. Michael Willis, your future self is a girl? I'm not saying you're not a girl, Michael Willis. Inverted Banana says, my future self said, F you, buddy. Why would, well, I mean, maybe he means it in a good way, though. Maybe it means it in like a wake up, wake up way. I'm glad I asked this question. I'm glad you guys are here. I usually get some people that are not the people you want um, to talk to. So this is, again, thanks to the future. Thanks, future. So keeping in mind that the future has most of human like thought. Most of human thought takes place in the future, like by far. Like you could say very little to almost zero thought has occurred so far at this point. But there's a whole lot in the future just waiting for us to, you know, access and know about. BBN is good. Okay, thanks, BBN. That makes me feel like I'm talking to like a Star Wars character. Thanks, BBN. You just said that you did a live stream and there was no sound. If you had another device, you would know that. Oh, dude, that's very clever. It doesn't happen that often, but it happens sometimes. And boy, did it piss me off this time because I felt like, dude, I was getting some real good future stuff going. And honestly, I can't remember anything I said then that I haven't already said again now. So it's not such a loss, but it's insulting. And it can just be a glitch. It might not be intentional. Okay, he wants us to leave him alone. We'll leave you alone. That says breaking news. Muslims are holding an emergency meeting. Oh, it's some type of Chuck Norris joke. BBN says BBN is good. Um, okay, so here's the thing. The goddess is real. Um, People will worship the goddess in the future. That's one thing about the future. The main points about the future that we need to know now are there's no money and no war in the future. BBL is better. Look, Ooga Booga. Thanks for being here, Ooga Booga. Okay, so in the future, there's no money and no war. That's some of the strongest messages I was taught about the future growing up. And I think it's one of the strongest things we need to emphasize now because we can get to no money and no war kind of like that, really. Like it can happen a lot faster than we thought. Somebody said earlier that, the time of peace for the remainder of humanity, in perpetuity into the future, could start in 200 years, reasonably. And I said, how about 2 years? How about this year? What's the difference between a timeline that it takes 200 years to end war and money and a timeline that it takes 2 years to end war and money? Or we start ending it now? Hold on, let me read. Here's a comment. Yeah, maybe just another one to check on it. Make sure everything's going good. And also, you got let the trolls talk only helps the algorithm. I mean, that's the principle, right? I have blocked them before and things were great, and we have just had kind of magical protection from the trolls. Like we're protected from the main trolls right now. We don't have the normal ones. I shouldn't even mention their names. I shouldn't even make reference to them. We're pretty good. Um, it might be the time of day. No, it's probably magic. I want to thank the goddess, thank all magical good spirits, the fairies, and everybody for helping us. And the future. Thanks, future. Um, Inverted Banana says there's always be money. Everyone trades. No, there doesn't have to be money. That's so start imagining what's like when there's no money, right? Keep in mind, we're stuck in a way of thinking that is the very early stages of humanity, and then all the rest of humanity doesn't think like that. So you have access to all the future thinking of all humans, like billions and billions of humans in the future. What if there's hundreds of billions of people on the planet instead of 6 billion or something? And then all those people do all this thinking that it's just so much more powerful than all of our thinking. Except our thinking, you know, we've been stuck in it for a long time. What about the turtle? There will be endless deities in the future. 1,000 years from now, no one will believe anything that is happening right now in this moment. What do you mean they won't believe it? They won't believe that this happened? You mean no one will believe anything the way they're believing it now? Thank you, Michael Willis. I appreciate the discussion. Serpentine deceptions, there is no goddess. No, there's the goddess. The goddess is real. Sweet dreams, inverted banana. See you next time. I would say the difference is about 1998. What does that mean? What do you mean the difference is 1998? We're just discussing the future. We're allowing the future to inform our current discussion so that instead of being stuck in the things we usually talk about, we're just talking about the future. You can do it anytime you want. It's kind of like love or sex. It's things that no one wants you to talk about. They'll make movies to convince you that it's always about Jennifer Aniston or something, but it's actually about you and the future. So, thanks. If the world lasts that long, that's the whole point, is that we make the world last by not having a futureless future, not having a dead end future. What we do right now in this very moment will mean nothing in 150 years. Or this means everything. Like this is the Doc Brown, this is the, what's it called? Bill and Ted's. This is the moment that fixes everything. You want to fix it all? Like every moment could be like this, or this could be the moment that we really should take this opportunity. BBN says, That's not 1998. That is 1998. You asked what the difference between this happening 200 years and 2 years. Okay, you masked me up. And I'm saying, what would the difference in our pathways be? If it's going to take us 200 years to end war, so keep in mind, 200 years to end war means we continue to have war through 200 more years of development. So we develop more powerful weapons and more different types of weapons and stuff for 200 more years, and then we end war. You know, like, yeah, that could happen, or we could not make it. We could not make it past this year. We could completely destroy ourselves this year, like today, like this month, or we could turn strongly the other way and completely destroy the ability to completely destroy ourselves today. What does that involve? It involves removing Putin, Trump, Netanyahu's probably already dead, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it involves just tweaks, a few tweaks to the channel, a few tweaks to the antenna, and we go to the future instead of nowhere. Just everything's dead. So I kind of like that. I kind of like having a future instead of everything dead. Personally, it's just I like everything. You know, I like everybody. I think everybody's great. Like people, like humanity, like existing is great stuff. You know, not existing seems really kind of like a shit, like a poor choice. My future self warned me of the speckled tongued devil. He told me the devil would come in the form of a beautiful woman. Okay, well, can they come to this chat, please? I would love to meet a beautiful woman. People suck ass, Roy Vowles said. You have a cool name, though, Roy Vowles. What do you mean, even Trump? What does even Trump mean? BBN says, yeah, man, you really need to check out the Venus Project. It's essentially what you're talking about. I've been a big proponent for years. Who does the Venus Project? So my kind of tradition is Oz. My tradition is books, the Oz books, all fairy tales really, but the Oz books especially. This isn't an Oz book. I'm just showing you what a book is. This is Cat Lessons from Cats for Surviving Fascism by Stuart Brittlestar Reynolds. Hi, Bella. Nice to see you, or nice to see you again. I can't remember. You've been watching for a very long time. Thank you, opinionated creature. I'm glad you finally spoke up. No doubt, Roy. The banana went to sleep. Listen, guys, I'm going to tell you guys about the future, okay? In the future, there isn't any money. There isn't any war. These are two things we don't have in the future. Thanks, Bella. You're cool too. Thanks for being here. Guys, in the future, there isn't any money. There isn't any war. Okay? I mean, it's not really a secret. I just told you. You can tell anybody. In the future, there's no money and there's no war. So I was just doing that to get your attention. Like a teacher does. So in the future, there's no money and there's no war. We might as well have that future now and start enjoying it sooner than later. We might as well have it this year. There's only a few tweaks we have to tweak to get to the future. Yes, it's mind power. Bella knows what I'm talking about. There's only a few tweaks we need to do to get to a future where there's peace and happiness and everybody's getting along and everything's great. Nobody has to worry about anything. It is, opinionated creature. I thought you said you've been watching me for a very long time. Listen. No, there's Trump Putineers. Don't listen to them. The Trump Putineers in the chat, they're just like a challenge, okay? You are what you choose, Bella Wolf says. Thank you, Bella Wolf. I choose love, happiness. I'm choosing the future, okay? So we're choosing like the truth and the goddess and Jesus and the future. I call it fairies. We're choosing like all the good things. Sorry about the trolls, dude. There's trolls in the chat. Don't worry about them. They're just, it's like, you guys ever seen the movie Labyrinth? Dude, don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. Talk to me, okay? Because we can talk to the future. Yeah, choose weed, sure. We can talk to the future, okay? And all it takes is thinking about it. All it takes is being willing to think and talk about it. You don't have to talk to me to talk to the future. You can just choose to think and talk about it. No, dude, I can prove Jesus is real. But check out the hashtag Church of Judas. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about the troll. There's trolls in the live. It's too much. It's annoying to me to block the trolls because I get so many trolls. I can't. It's gonna be completely distracting if I try to block them all. And then I forget to make highlights because I'm using my fingers all the time to block trolls. We don't forgive the Marines. No. Not if they're doing Trump's bidding. That's the whole point. Trump's a traitor. Anybody doing his bidding's a traitor. But that's all past talk, right? We're talking about after Trump is gone, after Putin's gone, Netanyahu's already gone. So this is, we're getting there, you know? Exactly. Democrat or Republican, Labyrinth was a pretty good movie. Thank you. And I'll just say David Bowie. I'll just say that. I'll just say David Bowie. All I'm going to do is say David Bowie. Your mind can do the rest. All I said was David Bowie. Your mind did that. Thank you. You're welcome. Dude, don't get mad at the trolls. They don't exist, okay? It's just like the reason I brought up the movie Labyrinth is so you can just progress past the troll stage. Like they can exist for other people. You choose to be what you think or mind power is. Yeah, you're correct, Bella. And so this live is about me choosing this future. Part of it was inspired by somebody I saw on a YouTube ad, actually. Part of it's inspired by my whole life. I'm from the future. I just don't talk about it that much. The future is, yes, I'm particularly wise today, DP. It's just the future. It's not me. It's just you can do it too. Anybody can do this. Like, it's pretty simple, right? There's Nazis in the chat. Oh, disregard the Nazis, okay? Like, it's fine. Like, they're not fine. They're trying to prevent us from having this conversation. And they always have been. People talk about Nazis, time travelers. No, Nazis are just the ones dragging us back to the past. Nazis are the ones with anchors in the past, trying to keep us in the past instead of achieving the future. So the future is very anti-Nazi. The future is very, just told you earlier, in the future there's no money and there's no war. So the future is very anti-Nazi. Look, there's a cat. Hold on. You see what I'm saying? Like, hello. Hello. Ahoy. Ahoy. I sail. I'm a sailor. I sail. Ahoy. Okay, trolls, you are not happy with what he said. Scroll away. Not complicated. Kick out. Scroll away. They're addicted. I mean, it's their job. I don't know what it is. It's money. Like I said, they're just proving my point, right? There's a future without any money. There's a future without any war. There's a future without any trolls, right? So what does that mean? If you want to see the future, look behind you, my friend. Thank you. That was a good suggestion. What did I see? What did I see when I looked behind me? Let's look behind the cat. I love this cat, but this cat is okay. I'm your favorite lesbian on the tube. Listen, guys. Yeah, the cat. Shadow is such a cute cat. And she's like, I don't know what she is. Maybe I'm starting to figure it out. You control the narrative. Rick James asks who controls the narrative. I think the super freak controls the narrative, Rick James. How are you doing, buddy? I was going to say that you control the narrative, but in a way, the character controls the narrative. Yes, Shadow the cat. Shadow's the name of the cat. Oh, Darth Nihilist. Nice to see you again. Better than ever, actually, Darth Nihilist. This live is going very well because of one thing. I focused on the future. I've had other lives that focus on this and focus on that, and they go okay. But this one's going particularly well because of the focus on the future. So I want to encourage people to focus on the future. And there's only really one good way to focus on the future. Yeah, I want the truth. Go ahead, Sarah Berry. If you think negative, that's what you're going to get. Mind thinking. Right. And yet, we live in a world where all the positive thinking. Wizard from Oz is here. Hello, brother. Hello, Oz. The great and powerful. Love you. Thanks for being here. Um, but back to Bella's point. If you think negative, that's what you're going to get. Mind thinking. Mind your thinking. Tachyons. We're getting everybody in the live. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks, fairies. Illinois will win. Sanity will win. Well, Illinois had a chance to win with Kat Abighazali. But let's go forward, okay? Jesus forgives, Marines do not. That's what he was saying. Okay, Marines, you can calm down. Just because there's no war anymore doesn't mean we won't have anything for militaries to do or soldiers to do. You guys will get repurposed into what I call rescue squads and green energy conversion. But like there's big projects for big organizations like militaries to do. And then you can be real heroes. Then you can be heroes. Thoughts create the future. Yeah, unconditional love is here. So we're getting all these new people who are way better than the old people used to get. Once again, thanks, future. Thanks, everybody. God and Jesus don't practice Wicca, they perfect Wicca. No, Jesus is from the goddess. God's a fake and dangerous lie. Jesus is from the goddess. I got some real questions for you now. Let me know when you're caught up so we can have this conversation. Yeah, dude, this is the conversation. BBN. You and I are having the conversation. Everybody else is chiming in. But like you were here from the beginning, and I want to know about the Venus Project and who started it. Like I was saying, my stuff comes from the fairy land of Oz. The fairy prophecy of Oz and Church of Judas is the Judas prophecy of replacing all Christianity. Replace all patriarchy, Christianity, war, and Trumpism with the Church of Judas. So check out the hashtag Church of Judas for that stuff. But the other prophecy I represent is the Oz prophecy, which is basically no money, no war in the future. And I know that Oz was transmitted through L. Frank Baum, who was married to the first, the daughter. I think he was married to the daughter of the first female preacher of a major American Christian religion. But also he was a theosophist. So as a theosophist, I imagine that the Venus Project traces back to theosophy at some point as well, but I'm just guessing that. And, they just have to repackage things. Oz works for some people, and other things work for other people. And then they repackage badly, like all the Starseed stuff is, as far as I can tell, a Nazi corruption of the Oz stuff. But that's the one that, of course, takes off and, gets so heavily promoted. So basically you have fake things like Christianity that try to replace good things like Jesus. And you have fake things like, MAGA that try to replace good things like American ideals. Okay, I can always say how bad Putin, Trump, and Bibi are. Do you not think Xi is a threat? The thing that I think Xi is a threat is that he supposedly has influence over Putin and didn't stop him. That's irresponsible. I try to give China as full credit as I possibly can because I'm just a fan. So I'm always trying to give China like super full credit. But they have influence over Putin and they didn't stop him. Like I understand how strategically, hurting America, destroying America, Putin's goal to destroy America through Trump, Putin's goal of destroying America through Trump helps China in some geopolitical balance, old world politics type of way, but it doesn't really. It's really rude. And like, what do we do to you, China? Okay, I know that people did things to China, but you know what I'm saying? Like, China could have stopped Putin. Or maybe they can't. I don't know. Is China just a lot weaker than I thought? I don't know. Let me know in the chat. But yeah, that's my main criticism of China. Just like my main criticism of Biden. He didn't arrest Trump. He didn't release the Epstein files, and he didn't stop the genocide. I mean, I have other criticisms too, but those are the main three. Slash, those are all three the same thing. Okay. Maz says it's not their job. Not whose job? Oh, it's not China's job to stop Putin? I don't know. Like, don't you have a responsibility to tell your ally or somebody that, like I'm saying, this is my criticism of China. I like China. I'm super fan of China. But you couldn't stop Putin? Like, he's a little bitch. And he might be dead too. I think Bibi's dead. But Putin might be dead too. I heard somebody suggest that recently. Maybe that's one reason I'm so willing to talk about the future. I've used the hashtag post Putin for 10 years, post Trump for 10 years. We're not at the post Putin, well, we might be at the post Putin world, but we're not at the post Trump world yet. But we're so close and we can make it. Or we can all die in a nuclear winter. You know, and it's like, to me, that's a really easy decision to choose existence and continuing on. And I haven't put it on kind of those large enough terms for myself to talk about it in this way. But I think now that I am, it's definitely produced a much better live experience than I've ever had on net and YouTube before. So, or, you know, as good as any I've ever had. The Epstein problem made it obvious. Still, people are blind. Nice to see you, Hi-Sat. What's G's goal too? Okay, guys. Did you guys want to hear about the future? Well, it's just because I'm talking about the future, thanks to you, Wizard from Oz. I get most of my future information from Oz, which is where they emphasize no money, no war. And then I think you can just be logical about that. Well, what is it like if there's a future where there's no money, no war? What does that mean for us now? You know, can we make it to that future? Can we make that future? How long do we have to wait to stop war? Well, I believe in the goddess. I think God is a dangerous lie. God has led these people to this fascist holy war. You know, it proves how bad Christianity is. But Jesus has a plan to replace Christianity, and replacing Christianity with the Church of Judas will end war, end patriarchy. Don't pray for me. Just pray for all of us. Again, if our prayers are largely us connecting with our future selves, then we can just do that too. We can call it that. Hello, Memester. Nice to see you. I'm doing well. How are you? We're discussing the future where there's no money, there's no war. We were having a pretty good live. A bunch of trolls showed up, chased off the good people. Yeah, we'll get better people. We'll get better troll-proof people in the chat. You made it, so thanks for being here. Yeah, it's like there's nothing worth reading in the chat. How do you end all war? How do you make people just give it up? Well, first of all, there's not a lot of people engaged in war. There's the soldiers and their masters. Most of us aren't soldiers, never were. Oh, I know they won't chase you off the memester. Thanks for being here. Sean Forder, we're talking about the future. My perspective of the future, the only possible future. There's no money, there's no war. We could have that future starting tomorrow, starting, this year, next year, tops. If we don't do it by this year or next year, we might end up in the dead end non-future of everybody's dead. So I do think that we should have a future. And I do think that future, I firmly believe the future is no money, no war. Remove the masters of war. Yeah, so who are the masters of war? Putin, Donna Kuputinsky, Netanyahu's already dead. But you know what I'm saying. There's only a few left, really. You remove the masters of war, give the militaries a different mission, a mission to convert power systems to green energy and to rescue people from natural disasters. Because there won't be anything else to rescue people from because we won't cause any more disasters. Greed is stopping that from happening, the memester cleverly points out. That's true, but who's greed? There's like 5 people. There's like 10, I don't know. There's like 500 greedy people. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain greedy people. I don't know how many thousands of them there are, but it's not hundreds of thousands. You know, it's a few thousands. It's not a big deal. It's a simple tweak. Those are the puppets and masters in fine. It doesn't matter, dude. There's still only thousands of them. Whether it's the puppets or the masters, there's only a few thousand of them, right? And then the puppets, the main ones that matter, we can count them on our hands. Putin, he might be dead. Putin, Trump, he's not long. Putin, Trump, Modi is still alive, I think. Netanyahu, very questionable, probably not alive. Putin, Modi, Trump. I guess, Putin was allied with the Iranian Ayatollah, the supreme leader of Iran. But he's not alive anymore. Netanyahu's probably not. MAGA's all gay, but they're homophobic. So if they were just really gay, then everything would be fine. They could be Democrats and everything would be fine. So we can take all the billionaires' stuff, okay? Think about once we take Elon Musk's, all his property and companies and all his money, and we redistribute that to everybody, but, the companies and stuff, they just run in a way that's beneficial to humankind. Dude, that's just Elon Musk. That's one person. Then you do Jeff Bezos. Then you do Mark Zuckerberg. It doesn't have to be in this order, but you see what I'm saying. You only have to do about 4 or 5 dudes before you've saved the entire world. It's not hard. We have full authorization. We have full rights to take everything they own. They knocked down half the White House. Like they did a lot of other stuff too. But like it's very clear to everyone that when they funded Trump knocking down half the White House, that's a terrorist attack on America. We're entitled to everything they own. Everything. You think Trump and Starmer run Putin? Maybe it's a grammatical thing. Putin runs Trump. I don't know about Starmer, probably. Putin runs Trump, though. Everybody knows that. Like, that's a baseline for being able to discuss things. Looped Lola. Thanks for being here. Remember the future, okay? We're going to talk about the future here. Yeah, that was a terrible genocide that the people of Myanmar did. How do you end that on one tiny country? Yeah, so we take Musk. Like, this isn't the place for us to plan. I mean, in the future, this isn't a place for people to plan for the capture of Musk. That can happen, though. Like, if a group of people, a group of Girl Scouts, a group of veterans, a group of Ukrainian refugees, I've frequently asked the question, how many Ukrainian refugees would it take to arrest Trump? How many Ukrainian refugees would it take to arrest Elon Musk? How many Girl Scouts would it take to arrest Woody Allen? How many Girl Scouts would it take to arrest Elon Musk? How many Girl Scouts would it take to arrest Donna Kuputinsky? Like, the number's 5 or less. Like, it's not even, it doesn't even take a dedicated group of people to stop this shit, right? Court, I can believe they're not in court, but grab them by the posse has been just a hashtag. I made up the hashtag grab them by the posse 12 years ago, 14 years ago. Grab them by the posse. Grab them by the posse, the hashtag grab them by the posse, GRABEM, grab them, grab M, grab them, shortened to grab them. Grab them by the posse. The hashtag grab them by the posse refers to a time period in the future. Again, we're talking about the future here. A time period in the future when posses form and do the justice that the authorities failed to do. The Department of Justice, the FBI, the police, those people who failed to stop the Epstein class, they have the opportunity to stop the Epstein class. They can go stop the Epstein class today. The FBI, instead of watching this live, could go interview Les Wexner. The FBI could go interview the guy who's an advisor to the president right now who procured Melania for Trump. The FBI could go interview them. That's something the FBI could go do. A FBI agent could realize, you know what? I don't work for Putin and these child molesting child killers. I work for the American people. A FBI agent could realize that and go rogue. A FBI agent could go completely rogue against Kash Patel. Kash Patel couldn't tell him what to do because he was completely rogue. Trump won't be around much longer. G-Bay calling his name. What's G-Bay? Like eBay, but God or something? I try to inject humor. Much like many of you could stand for a hot beef injection. Okay, but it's not even about Trump being around much longer, right? Like, Netanyahu's probably been dead for weeks, but they keep him around, with AI and stuff. So, let's be real. Everybody needs to be against it. And they might as well know how much we're against them. We can make some examples of Woody Allen. Like somebody made an example of Woody Allen being in the Epstein files. It's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Start with Woody Allen, Bill Clinton, any of them. I mean, they supposedly got the deposition out of Bill Clinton, but I bet you could get a little more out of him. Who's 000? Oh, you're just a troll. Okay. Guys, in the future, all this stuff is over. All these people will be hated by all our descendants. Just like all our ancestors hate them. And people say there's only the now. And right now, there's people who are connected to the future and to the past and who, represent the goodness of humanity. And then there's these fucking Nazis who aren't connected to shit. I mean, yeah, they're connected to the Nazis of the past and they're connected to the, evil tyrants of the past and all this stuff. But they're not connected to humanity. They never were. They're like an infestation. They're like an infection. They're like a parasite or something. Well, if you look up the unpopular opinion puffin meme that was originated probably 20 years ago, They made that for me. I inspired the unpopular opinion puffin meme. So I would probably still have unpopular opinions to certain people, people who lived in the past. And then I think gradually, yeah, people would have pretty much a very high approval of me because their approval of me would be borne out by the ideas working out for everybody, which would create even greater approval. Everybody come around. Kind of like just people waking up to see that Trump is a pedophile child killer and, destroying our country for Putin. And when people realize that they've been helping a pedophile child killer who's destroying our country for Putin, they'll be very ashamed. Probably a lot of them will kill themselves. I don't recommend that. I think people should give themselves a chance to live a good life, even if they've been terrible, terrible Nazi their entire life. I think they should. That's all the more reason to live some life without being a terrible Nazi. Just my 2 cents. You can take them or you can put them on your eyelids. But yeah, I think y'all are going to regret everything for the rest of your lives. And then hopefully you'll be able to become good people again and enjoy life despite that. But, like if you have anything that you regret, this will be something you regret, a million times more than that. If you have anything that you actually regret right now, like you say you killed your mom or something, you're going to regret supporting Trump a million times more than you regretted killing your mom. Ever since the Stormy Daniels shit, I knew Trump was a horrible person. The signs have been there. There have never not been signs that Trump was a horrible person. Mm, I don't think that there's a problem with people blowing Trump's flaws out of proportion. Optimistic Taco Truck, who to me has always come across as a Trumper, said, I think anyone put in power is seen as a controversial at some point in their career. Even small things can be blown out of proportion by the other side. I would agree that that's a possibility, but how you would come up with that sentence when what we're talking about is American politics is no, they haven't blown out of proportion enough that Trump's a fucking Nazi and a traitor. That hasn't been blown into proportion. They have minimized Trump's Nazism and treason. So, no. What have they blown out of proportion? I'll blow something out of proportion for you. Trump canceled putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. There was the plan to put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill, and Trump canceled it. Now, again, this whole theme of this live is the future. We don't have money. We don't have war. So all this is complete bullshit, right? This is kind of a waste of an opportunity where we could be talking about the future. But I'm going to go ahead and engage the conversation. And this is where my mind went with it. Trump made sure that Harriet Tubman could not be on the $20 bill because he's a racist piece of shit. Okay? So he stopped it. But then Biden took office, and Biden was in office for 4 years. And all he ever would have had to do was just call the Treasury up, or whoever it is, the Mint, and say, put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. It would have proved he was president, because there was a lot of people who said Biden was Trump in a Biden mask. It would have proved he was president, and we would have had Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. He didn't do it. There's a lot of other things he didn't do. I'm blowing that out of proportion to say it's important, but it is important. We didn't get Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill, even though they were supposed to put her on the $20 bill back in like 2017 or something. I'm talking about Trump because Trump's the one in power right now, and nobody's blowing anything out of proportion. They're not blowing it into proportion enough. I guess I should block all the trolls because this really went to just like trolls. And it was great before when we were talking about the future. I'll talk about the future in the future. I'll go ahead and shut this down because it's kind of went to crap. Oh well, thanks for being here, though, the memester. It's kind of interesting talking to you for a minute, Taco Truck. Like, I do appreciate the conversation. Well, he was being polite this time. But anybody supporting Trump has a serious issue. But I mean, again, you're going to have to recover from that at some point. You're going to regret it. The longer you do it, the more you'll have to regret. You're going to regret it more than anything else in your life. All the other things in your life that you've already regretted so far, this is put all of them together. Supporting Trump is going to make you feel worse than all of those times the hundreds or thousands. Says the guy with the turbo Camaro. Oh, that's his name. Well, Netanyahu's dead, so doing anything that Netanyahu wants is really stupid, in my opinion. I don't think it's impossible to remain popular and on top. Watch what Mamdani does. Like democratic socialism, a democratic socialist leader will be popular and on top because there's not that many Trumpers to begin with. Most of them are going to see through it and not want to support a pedophile and a traitor and a terrorist anymore. Not want to be pedophiles and terrorists and traitors anymore. And so they're going to come back to America in some way or another. So if you have a democratic socialist leader of America, not only are you going to have the support of most of Americans naturally, but then you're going to do good things that gains the support of all Americans. Think like FDR. And you know, FDR had problems too. But you have a modern day democratic socialist who doesn't have those kind of problems. You solve all the world's problems, just like seizing Elon Musk's property, seizing Jeff Bezos' property, seizing Mark Zuckerberg's property and company. Solves a lot of problems. Yeah, don't let them draft you. If you're in the military, get out. Yeah, Jesus is real. Jesus is from the goddess, though. So if someone's telling you about a Jesus who's not from the goddess, then they believe in a fake Jesus, an antichrist Jesus from a fake God. But Jesus is from the goddess. Check out the hashtag Church of Judas, and we'll talk more about Jesus stuff in the future. Anyway, thank y'all for being here. Talk to you next time. The Cure is a good band. Who would that be? Who would what be? I think Jasmine Crockett should run for president. I'm running for president. Check out Puffin for president hashtag. But I'm only running for president until Jasmine Crockett runs for president. From my understanding, he's even losing popularity quick. He's increased taxes right off, couldn't deliver the public grocery and free transit. I'm Canadian, so it's hard to. Dude, I literally thought you were talking about Trump. No, dude, you're Canadian and you listen to right wing media. Stop. Okay, Mamdani's succeeding. Everybody loves Mamdani. He's the model that the rest of America is going to follow. Canada probably will too. You'll figure it out. But, like, stop listening to the right wing media, dude. It's poisoning your mind. You're going to regret all this time you spent in that world. All right, thanks, y'all. Talk to you soon.